Legacy International strives to help others build a viable and sustainable legacy, and we believe that by contributing to the development of civil society and enhancing the capacity of individuals, we can help to create an integrated and inclusive cooperative global community that gives current and future leaders the tools to address their communities' and countries' challenges for the benefit of future generations.
I'm always saying to myself, like, the democracy is like illusion.
Our culture depends on anything rather than rules.
We became pioneers in creating political vacuum in the streets.
And what we are living now is history, and the next generations have the right to know history.
Democracy is based on dialogue.
We need an inclusive democracy, a chance that would allow all people to evolve their ideas.
And currently all our troubles or our challenges are due to the absence of rule of law.
I wanted to see the democracy that we fought for, and we sacrificed a lot to get it. So I really wanted to time travel and see what we really need.
I want to sincerely welcome you to our country and to this program. Democracy, my friends, is a continuing process. Democracy is always changing. It's always difficult. Our founding fathers told us that even at times you may have to have more revolution in order to maintain a democracy. Your presence here is also a reminder of the will of people for freedom. The Taliban point-blank shooting of a young girl seeking education, continued suicide bombings through the Islamic majority nations, the Syrian genocide, the rape of women by authorities in Iran. We can and we must ask the question, where is Islam today? Democracy and Islam, do they fit together? All people should be protected. And all people, despite what their religious background is, their gender, their political ideology is, need to be protected, as in the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and as it was lost from the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'm sorry to say. Rumi once said, "Change comes from necessity. Therefore, O man, create necessity." Well, you have necessity. You cannot change a society until you change yourself. Let me show you a quick example. Give me human values.
Love.
Love. Honesty there? Forgiveness. Humility. Gratitude. If you live in a country that really would be run by these principles, would you call it a democracy? You would, wouldn't you? What else would it be? What are the qualities of leadership that you can instill in your children in your education classes? What can you teach them is a value that everybody in the world will understand? It's this.
The Arab Spring countries, the revolution was made by youth mainly, and then what happened, it was confiscated by old people. And this is what happened in Libya, Egypt, Tunisia.
What we are seeking is not a position or is not a place in the media. We are seeking an opportunity to participate.
As young people, we know that we should occupy decision-making spots, but how?
I'm an old person. So I'm not an old person?
No.
Okay. Which old people are you talking about? Old mentalities. You're building nation. You're nation builders, okay? Nobody can tell you what to put in and not to put in. Fight for everything you believe in. Make compromise where you can, where you have to. And be pragmatic, but realistic. And I encourage you to question, to comment, to evaluate what you see and hear, to be open-minded, to be open-hearted, as I wrote to you, but to question.
On behalf of the State Department, just extend a very warm welcome, of course, to all of you. This is a very, very accomplished and diverse group. We have doctors, attorneys, one judge, I believe, writers. So I think they're going to get a lot out of this the next few weeks. And without further ado, I just want to open it up to any questions about our democratic and legislative process. Thank you.
I am delighted to welcome you here, and I hope that you all have a wonderful experience here, seeing firsthand how how the U.S. government is attempting to work these days. and this is not necessarily a perfect lesson in how democracy should work, but democracy is sort of an ugly form of government, I suppose, but it's maybe the best, as Winston Churchill would observe.
Do you think there will be sacrifices from the part of the Democratic or the Republican? How will you get to negotiate? I mean,
we're actually having more discussions right now than the Republicans and the Democrats are having with each other here. I mean, you know,
if you do not know your neighbor, how can you work together and come up with a compromise?
Well, if you do not know your neighbor, it's easier to dislike them and say nasty things about them. And members of Congress don't socialize with each other anymore. They don't visit, they don't talk to each other very much anymore. They're home in their home districts. They come back here just long enough to have a vote, and then they go back again. So they're not around.
Tuesday night to Thursday night.
That whole center of American politics has been hollowed out.
And now it's like a barbell with just the liberals and the extreme on the other side. And it's pretty bad.
So leadership really is bringing people in with talent and letting them exercise that talent.
Good leaders have to have the courage to seek the truth and to ultimately speak the truth. Someday you're going to be prime ministers, presidents, you know, ministers of your government and stuff. And so it's exciting to see you here and to know that you're having this learning experience. And I hope that those who you interact with here also learn from you, because you have a lot to teach us as well.
We're going to first go up into the House gallery.
So this is like the first time for everybody in the building?
Yes.
Yeah.
Rosa Parks, the civil rights icon, the woman that did not get to the back of the bus.
That said no.
She is honored here.
I taught some lessons about her, like how.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
This is our national ceremonial space. Nelson Mandela received a medal here.
This one is good.
It's the first full day of your fellowship, so have a great day.
Thank you.
You know, remember the advice you got. Try to have good conversations about your goals, what you want to learn. Don't be shy, and we'll be in touch. You know, we're never far away.
This is the second time that the Campaign Legal Center has hosted a Legacy International Fellow. We learned a lot from our first fellow, and we're learning a lot from our second fellow, and I think we have a lot to share. We arrange meetings with folks across the spectrum, from the most conservative individuals we know and work with to organizations and individuals that are more liberal or to the left of us, and I think the fellows benefit from having that wide exposure to political opinion. It's not as though I take for granted democracy in the United States, but here at the Campaign Legal Center we're focused on deficiencies in U.S. democracy and how to fix them, how to make democracy better. And it's been interesting engaging with folks trying to build democracy in other regions and realizing how much progress we've made here in the United States. Battle's not over, but we've come a long way here in the United States, and my exposure to international democratizing efforts have really made me appreciate that.
Egypt and all of the Middle East are very important to the United States, and it's often very difficult to understand how people feel about our relationship from that side, and so it's been very helpful to hear Somaia's perspective. And Somaia, given her academic background and her expertise, is able to explain things very effectively and give a good objective sense of what's going on in Egypt. She was very interested in learning, in particular, about the democratic process and a lot of the ins and outs of how a Capitol Hill office works, because I think she's interested in how can she make Egypt's parliament more effective as a public institution. We had Somaia sit in just a totally wide range of constituent meetings so that she can see how constituents petition their government in this country, and the relationship of constituents and the associations that represent them and how they interact with our office. We have been working on legislation that we've been interested in introducing, and so we've tried to involve her in that process so she can see sort of how bills get drafted. We've taken her to other offices so that she can see that every office on Capitol Hill is different. It's sort of like 435 small businesses, at least on the House side, and each one is different in how it's run and managed and the priorities that in terms of how it operates. So we really tried to fill her 2.5 weeks with everything that you could possibly see to understand Congress as an institution, the different things that go into making it work.
This is when I started to walk the talk. What I'm telling what I have from the books is what has been told in the orientation. What I'm telling my students, now I'm living the experience. So you are walking from a meeting, running to catch another meeting, and having a voting on the floor, and then you have to go to an outside group to have like a networking or a fundraising campaign. It was a very dynamic life, and they are doing a really job.
What's the problem that I want to address? I'm going to ask you to break into smaller groups. Just brainstorm. There's no right or wrong answers.
لما قلت له في الكليه قال لي انا عارف دي كذا عشان خاطرك قلت له انا غلطان قال لي لا
youth and employment. No, haven't studied, haven't interested. No. It's youth and employment.
So you have to divide it here. So not employment of graduate students and or uneducated or others. We say unemployment of graduate students who already finished school and they want to get a job and they can't. And we have others who are uneducated or just left school for some reasons and they want to get a job. The curriculum itself, it's not good, so when they graduate, they don't have the experience, they don't have even the knowledge for the job.
What's the root cause of the problem, and what's your vision for how it could and should look? And don't worry about your project. Is that clear? Okay. Think about what is the issue that you want, and then what is it?
Analyze till I will get the specific needs or assistance the needs that our societies need to.
Exactly. Totally right.
Good morning. My name is Matthew Lakenbach. I'm a program officer with Legacy International, and we appreciate you joining us for this morning's briefing. Currently, a group of 12 fellows in town from Egypt, Libya, and Tunisia, participating in the Legislative Fellows Program, North Africa. And the purpose of their visit is to learn about the legislative process, political development, advocacy, and they've been teaching us as much as we've been teaching them. Thank you for coming, Congresswoman, and I'd like to give you the floor to welcome everyone here today.
Thanks. We're learning as much about your country, some of your country's goals, dreams, and aspirations for the future generations, but then we also do the person-to-person exchange. And that's how diplomacy really moves forward. It's grounded in trust, and trust can't happen unless you get a chance to really get to know someone, and you're sharing experiences, your personal hopes, your personal dreams for yourself and your family. And I'd like to thank the State Department, if there's people here from State, during these tough budgetary times, kind of reinforcing the diplomacy that goes on person to person, country to country, and here in the Congress with the staff exchanges, I think you get the biggest bang for your buck. You have both happening at the same time.
So we'll start off with Tunisia.
Tunisia is the first Arab country to establish a constitution in 1861. It was also the first Arab country to abolish polygamy in 1956, and also the first country to give right to vote for women. Last but not least, the first country to overthrow a dictator in 2011.
And tonight, let us be clear. The United States of America stands with the people of Tunisia and supports the democratic aspirations of all people.
Tunisia actually was the spark of the Arab Spring. However, Egypt, I believe, is the fire. The head of the regime are toppled down, and then what? Different actors, different processes, and different trajectories to each country. And this is why each of our countries are totally different and are really challenging for us before the international community. So, economic situation in Egypt is really bad. We are in a critical situation in Egypt, and our debt ceiling is really high. It's the same as you here in the United States, but we did not shut down. We could not shut down, actually.
It's really hard to be a youth in Libya. Gaddafi controlled Libya over 40 years old, and the country is still the same, hasn't changed. So the best solution is the youth take a step to do the revolution.
And the youth revolution brought hope to Libya. It changed many people's life, like myself. If the revolution wasn't happened, I wouldn't be here. And it opens many people's eyes to be in the power and make change to their life.
These are the George Washingtons and Thomas Jeffersons of their countries and their generations, and takes an extraordinary amount of courage. And I want to acknowledge especially our fellows for the courage that you've had to stand up against indignity and dictatorship.
Well, you are a rock star. You were going to go back and turn that whole country on its head.
Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you.
There is this astounding parallel to our past and our present, and their present and what will be their future.
The only way for our republic to work is for individuals to understand they have to get up every single day and be engaged with the work of the community.
We have about 350 costumed interpreters, people who dress in the period dress and who interpret the story of Williamsburg at that period in time.
There's no place quite like colonial Williamsburg. Williamsburg and Virginia broke from the British Crown, what was once the largest and the most successful British colony in North America.
Williamsburg is a very important place in the last part of the 18th century. Important in terms of the development of the ideas that first of all created resistance to the British Empire, and secondly in working out the principles of a free government, of a republic.
History shows us many things. It shows us that power corrupts. It also shows us that those men who have some power always want more. And finally, history shows us that those men who have successfully become tyrants or despots have always understood that in order to become so, the first thing they have to do is take these rights away from the people. Ultimately, we all must be ever vigilant at all times.
This is the essence of real democracy and real freedom. There is no disparity between Islam and democracy. It's the core Islamic value to want for your brother what you want for yourself.
I will take everything I learned to share it with other youth in my country, from the small things to biggest things, from how working in one team to how to lead your country to the safe place.